All right, so let's start this broadcast with the big story that we are tracking on WION at a time when the Israeli nation is battling and is experiencing huge protests over the controversial judicial changes. What is interesting is that the Israeli parliament has now decided to repeal a law that had banned 4 Israeli settlements in occupied Palestinian West Bank territories. What this repeal of the law now does is it allows Jewish settlers to in fact move into these settlements. The Knesset amended a 2005 law that had ordered for their evacuation. Meanwhile, the United States has said that it is extremely troubled by the move of the Israeli government to lift this ban, that is to repeal a law which will now allow for more Israeli settlements in Palestinian lands. The Israeli parliament, remember, had struck down certain clauses in the 2005 disengagement law which had allowed the Jewish residents to return to the 4 settlements in the West Bank. The parliamentary vote was passed after it got 31 votes in favour and 18 votes against. It was immediately denounced by the Palestinians. This is being dubbed as one of the first major steps that's been taken by Netanyahu's far-right coalition government. And also, Yuli Edelstein, the head of the Israeli Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, has hailed this move as the first and a significant step towards what he describes as a real repair and the establishment of Israel in territories of the homeland that belongs to it.
כל קיים פה חוץ מהאנשים והבתים. האנשים שגורשו והבתים שהוחרבו, ועכשיו אנחנו באנו לתקן. פה יהיה בעזרת השם יישוב.
Now, the Executive Committee of the Palestinian Liberation Organization has accused the Israeli government of land grab and of continuing its open battle against the Palestinian people by taking away their lands. The committee's member, Vasil Abu Yusuf, has said that nearly about 88 Palestinians have been killed since the beginning of 2023, that is in the last 2.5 odd months. He's also added that the bigger responsibility for the international community is to provide protection for the Palestinian people who at this moment are completely defenseless, according to him.
وأنا بعتقد أنه يعني ما يسمى مستعمرة حومش وغيرها عندما يتم العودة إليها هذا الأمر يؤكد بما يدع مجال للشك على أن هذه الحكومة ماضية في تثبيت وقائع الأرض وفي محاولة استمرار حربها لفتوحات الشعب الفلسطيني. نتحدث الآن عن 88 شهيد منذ بداية العام، أكثر من شهيد كل يوم، وبالتالي يعني أنا بعتقد أن المسؤولية مضاعفة أمام المجتمع الدولي الآن من أجل توفير الحماية الدولية لشعبنا الفلسطيني، من أجل رفض سياسة فرض الوقائع الأرض.
And the United States has also reacted to the Israeli parliament's decision and has said that it is extremely troubled by this move and is very concerned. The State Department has said that the move to amend the 2005 law is particularly provocative and is also counterproductive to the efforts to try and restore calm in an already troubled region.
The U.S. strongly urges Israel to refrain from allowing the return of settlers to the area covered by the legislation, consistent with both former Prime Minister Sharon and the current Israeli government's commitment to the United States. We have been clear that advancing settlements is an obstacle to peace and the achievement of a two-state solution. This certainly includes creating new settlements, building or legalizing outposts, or allowing building of any kind on private Palestinian land or deep in the West Bank adjacent to Palestinian communities.
So that is what the Americans have in fact said. They've hit out the ruling far-right Israeli government over its controversial decision to repeal a ban on more settlements in Palestinian territories. The timing of this change is also likely to cause some serious tensions, especially ahead of the month of Ramadan and also the Passover and Easter holidays. But also to give us more perspective in terms of what's exactly happening, we're being joined in by our correspondent Jody Cohen, who's joining us live from Ra'anana. Now, Jody, tell us a bit more about what this repeal of this controversial legislation, of course, means. Does it mean that there will be more settlements in the Palestinian territories of West Bank?
Hi, Mohammed. Yes, so this bill proposed by Yuli Edelstein, the Likud member of parliament, passed in an overnight vote, as you said, 31 votes for, 18 votes against, and it was actually voted at a time when most MPs weren't present. The law will allow resettlement of 4 areas of the northern West Bank, which Israel left in 2005 when it also left Gaza. Now, interestingly, some members of the opposition also voted for this bill, saying that it wrongs a historic injustice and affirming Israel's historic legal and security rights to the area. Now, Israel has repeatedly said over the past year, since regular attacks from these areas began against Israeli civilians, that if the Palestinian Authority doesn't take control of armed groups in the northern West Bank, Israel will have to. But whether or not this law is symbolic or if we'll see people moving into these areas remains to be seen. We're also likely to see the Israeli Supreme Court weigh in on the matter as well. As you said, the Palestinian Authority has condemned the move. They see these 4 areas as land for a future Palestinian state. Meanwhile, Israel's ambassador to the US, Mike Herzog, was called for an unscheduled meeting with the Deputy Secretary of State, which is a rare move and shows the US's concern about the vote and also about the timing.
Absolutely indeed. Now, Jody, considering the fact that the Netanyahu government was on the back foot because of the protests that were underway, because of the judicial changes that he wanted to bring about, do you think this is a move by Netanyahu to try and deflect some of the attention back home in his own country, where the Israelis are not happy with the changes that he's bringing about?
I don't actually think it's a move to deflect attention, because it's been something that's been in the works for several months already. I mean, this is coming at a tense time, certainly, as well as the protests that you refer to. We've seen over the past year repeated attacks on Israeli civilians. We've seen almost nightly search and arrest raids by Israel Defense Forces. At times, we've seen rockets fired from Gaza into Israel, and at times Israel responding by targeting Hamas facilities. And add to this, Ramadan starts on Thursday. And over the past few years, we've seen increased tensions around this time, in particular, including rioting on the Al-Aqsa Temple Mount complex. So it's certainly a tense time. It also is coming just days after warming ties with Saudi Arabia. We've seen Saudi media reports suggesting that the UAE is considering reducing ties with Israel, although the Israeli Prime Minister's office has denied that there's any crisis in relations between the two countries.
Absolutely indeed, Jody. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and getting us all those insights there.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.